Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. We're here at the Emergency Operations Centre for the Calgary Emergency Management Agency's update on our critical water main break. Joining us today is Mayor Jyoti Gondek. We have SEMA Acting Chief Kobe Dewar and Infrastructure Services General Manager Michael Thompson. We'll take your questions, we'll hear their updates and we'll take your questions. Please limit it to one question and a follow-up. Thank you so much.
Oki, Daranastada, Ambawastich, Tanse, and good afternoon, everyone. Construction is continuing on track on the 5 hotspots that are on the feeder main. That round-the-work clock is being done by crews of contractors as well as city workers, and it's making a very big difference towards getting the city water system back on track for the target date of July the 5th. Crews continue to cut and remove segments of the pipe where the hotspots are, and that work is about halfway done. The sections of pipe that have been treated are on standby, and they will be brought to site at the time that they are needed. And this is because of some excellent timing and communication between crews on site and the fabrication shops. General Manager Thompson will give us an update of examples of how on-site work can shift and change and what it means. I also wanted to let you know that we have worked with a company called Pure Technologies for the last few years, and we have leveraged their deep experience with the oil and gas sector to come up with solutions for our water system. And one of those solutions is to implement a smart ball inspection or monitoring method for our treated water system. And this is something that can be used for monitoring while there is water in the pipe. This is just another example of how the city is working very closely with the private sector to improve our approach to city infrastructure and to fix this feeder main break as quickly as possible. All of us are also very interested in how much this repair job will cost. And I'm happy to say that Calgary Emergency Management Agency has been tracking all of these costs since the day that this happened, and they are consolidating the information as they are receiving it. Any and every city operation that's working on getting Calgary's water system back on track will have accounting to do on this so that we can all have a fulsome picture and so that we can understand if there are emergency funds that we can apply for either through the provincial or federal government. And in terms of speaking of accountability, General Manager Thompson in the coming days will have more to share about the third-party independent review of the incident, what the framework looks like, what the timing is to get people on the panel, and what the stand-up date will be. Yesterday, I'm happy to report that we held the line in terms of water conservation for the 5th day in a row, and we used only 454 million liters of water. And the question is, can we keep this streak going? And if we stick to playoffs, I can tell you that not showering as much and not doing laundry means that we're already trying to avoid that jinx. I want to congratulate everyone who saved water when it rained earlier this week so that you'd be able to do things like water your flowers and your gardens. There is one person who reported saving 50 gallons, which is about 200 liters of rainwater for their gardens and outdoor plants. And that's about the same amount of water that's used in a dozen toilet flushes. So it's an amazing example for us to follow, and it really gives you an idea of how much water we used to consume and how we've been doing a great job of cutting back. And we have a warm weekend forecasted ahead of us. So it's a good time to think about ways that you can stay cool and save water. You might want to check out a movie in the theater, you might want to go hang out in the mall, and maybe you'll head up to the mountains or down to the basement, but it's a good idea to think about all of those ways that we can save water for life-saving measures like firefighting. And that's an important point that we need to make. I want to commend the Calgary Fire Department in their work to put out a couple of fires in our city in the last couple of days. Yesterday, one fire was caught early, and it only required about 600 liters of water to put out. There was another fire earlier today, and it involved businesses along McLeod Trail. That one used about 20,000 liters to be contained. The fire department thanks all of you in Calgary, Tsuut'ina Nation, Strathmore, Chestermere, and Airdrie for your efforts in water conservation so that the crews can have a safe environment within which to fight fires. And Acting Fire Chief Deborah Bergeson said that a fire hose full of water is, and this is where I quote her, a literal lifeline for our firefighters who are inside a burning building. So thank you for helping keep our firefighters safe by doing simple things like skipping a hair wash or using hand sanitizer instead of soap and water. I will now invite SEMA Deputy Chief Kobe Dewar up for his update.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us today, and a special thank you to our media partners for helping to broadly share important information with Calgarians as things continue to unfold in this situation. The pipes from San Diego are in the process of being sandblasted and coated, and we'll hear more details about the site and repair from General Manager Thompson. As the Mayor mentioned, while we again met our daily reduction target yesterday, consuming 554 million liters of water, we still need you to continue to conserve water as you have been. Make every drop count. As we mentioned yesterday, we have been working closely with the Calgary construction industry to open 2 locations on the Bow River to provide non-potable water for construction work only. I am pleased to say one of these locations is now open at the West Baker Park boat launch. The second site for non-potable water will be open tomorrow afternoon in the south at the Ogden boat launch. Please note that the Ogden boat launch will be closed for regular use while the non-potable water is being distributed. The West Baker Park boat launch will remain open. At this time, access to this non-potable water is only for contractors with active development agreements and permits, commercial landscape companies, bulk water station users, those with hydrant connection unit agreements, and contractors working for capital projects for the City of Calgary and regional customers. This temporary service is free of charge and will be the responsibility of the end user to ensure that the water is appropriate for its intended application. I want to emphasize that river water is not safe for drinking. It is only to be used for commercial construction and landscape activities as a way of helping the industry get through the Stage 4 water restrictions. Lastly, we are looking at options to expand the availability to other users in the future. This water is not currently available to the general public. We have received some questions about the status of pools. At the beginning of this event, we asked high water users to close in support of water reductions efforts. We closed City of Calgary facilities and reduced washing agreements or requirements, where we could safely do so. And I want to acknowledge pools and recreation facility operators for their ongoing support in helping us make every drop count. By staying closed, you are making a big difference, making sure that we are able to conserve our water for public safety purposes. We know that this closure has caused concerns for hundreds of children registered in camps starting in the next 2 weeks, swim lessons, athletes training for important competitions, and youth who rely on jobs as their livelihood to pay for things like school and lodging. We know we are asking a lot of Calgarians, and we are requiring our partners and their patrons to share a load just a little bit longer so we can resume service in a safe and responsible way. We are all making sacrifices, and we generally appreciate the efforts of everyone doing their part. The forecast has us heading into a stretch of warm weather in the coming days. With temperatures expected to be in the mid-20s over the weekend, this will be our first real test of summer-like weather under these current water restrictions. Some practical tips for you for this weekend. Cooking on a barbecue or in a one-pot meal like a crock pot helps save water. Use compostable dishes. Only wash the clothes you need and reduce where you can and rewear where you can. Keep doing what you're doing. Your efforts are making a big difference. Make every drop count. We are also pleased to see Calgary businesses rallying around the continued call to reduce water use. We've heard some excellent stories from all over Calgary, including the Alberta Brewing Association sharing information to its membership on how to conserve water. Lastly, before I move on to the daily status updates for 311 and bylaw, I have been asked about tracking of financial costs for this event. On the very first day of this event, SEMA, working with the city's financial department, established citywide financial coding to track all related expenses to this event, from the cost of the materials, to the work hours, to contractor supports and machinery. It is all being tracked. While I don't have any precise details at this point on the totals, the cost of this incident will be shared with you. Officers, now I'll go into those statistics. Officers have had 2,209 calls since June 6th. A total of 14 violation tickets have been issued to companies. We have had a total of 140 calls for service regarding the fire ban. 17 written warnings have been issued, 60 verbal warnings have been issued, and 4 violation tickets have been issued. The total number of calls related to this water event through our 311 system is 7,630. Please continue to do your part to reduce water consumption. Make every drop count. I will now pass over to General Manager Michael Thompson to give us an update on the construction.
Good afternoon. I was on site this morning to take a look at the progress to date and was inspired by the commitment and expertise of the crews. All the contractors are working together to get this critical repair done. Crews continue cutting and removing the existing damaged pipe. So far, we have completed about 50% of the cutting and removal required. We have to carefully remove the damaged sections so we do not damage an adjacent segment of pipe. Yesterday, I mentioned this is a complex repair, and these are not off-the-shelf parts that we are replacing. Everything is custom fabricated, and this line was originally installed 49 years ago. The feeder main in this area is not all at the same elevation. It follows the terrain. When we exposed one of the hot spots, we found the damaged pipe was in a location which changes grade, and the pipe is encased in a large concrete block, as you can see on this photo, called a thrust block. This created a problem for the crews, as the segment of the damaged pipe cannot be removed without risk of damaging the adjacent pipe. Yesterday, our team determined there's too much risk to cut out this damaged section of pipe. Instead of cutting out the damaged section of pipe, we're going to structurally reinforce this segment of pipe. Prior to this discovery, a contingency plan had been developed for this scenario, and yesterday we enacted this contingency plan. Until we've completed the removal stage, we continue to run the risk of finding something new and unexpected. I'd like to update you on the 2 sections of pipe from San Diego. They're currently being sandblasted and coated, and once that's complete, the pipes will be transported to the construction site. The pipes that were already in Calgary have been coated and are ready to be delivered to the site when we need them. The team continues to visit and provide updates to the businesses and residents most impacted by the construction. We remain committed to keeping you informed as we progress with repairing the feeder main. I'd like to thank the communities and commuters who are impacted by the traffic detours. I'm on site at various times throughout the day, and I know this is a big repair job and it's having a big impact on our community. I want to thank you for your patience as we complete this complex work. I'd now like to invite back Mayor Gondek.
Thank you. So GM Thompson talked about the complexity of this work and the impacts to surrounding businesses. This week, the city officially launched an Open for Business campaign in Bowness and Montgomery. So if you're looking to get your car fixed, or if you're looking for something for your pet, or maybe a fun and interesting place for a date, maybe you need a new tattoo, I would highly recommend that you go to the businesses in Bowness and Montgomery and see if they can meet your needs. They are still open for business. And if you are planning on going to those neighborhoods, please make sure that you look at the detours that are in place to get the work done on the repairs. And whatever your plans are, you don't want to be the only one who's not doing your part in conserving water during this emergency. This is a city of people who come together during any type of crisis or emergency. This is a city of smart people who figure out the way forward when we're faced with a problem. The last 2 weeks has put those people on display, and I want to thank you. I'll be with you tomorrow morning at 8:30 via live stream to report on water usage and any updates that we might have. And we'll have more information on the progress of the repair of the feeder main right here at the Emergency Operations Center tomorrow at 2 o'clock. With that, I will pass to Sherry to field any questions from media.
Thank you, Mayor. Carrie Tate, closing now.
My question is for Mr. Thompson. Yesterday and in previous press conferences, you mentioned that there's 5,000 kilometers of pipeline and 89% of them are in good, very good condition. What was this feeder main ranked as prior to the break?
Thanks for the question. I'll have to actually get back to you with the specifics on that question, but I'll get the data and get back to you on that.
As a follow-up on that, if you're not sure what the feeder main was prior to this break, how can the public trust you that the 98% of the other stuff is in good condition?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I'm focused on the repair right now. So as we talked about before, our focus is to get the 5 hotspots that we've identified fixed as quickly as possible so that we can restore safe drinking water for our communities. Following that in the review, we'll be looking at all of our asset management like I mentioned before.
Thanks. Yeah, go ahead.
Sean Polzer, Western Standard. With the blanket rezoning, has there been any thought to how it affects some of these older neighborhoods? I know I live in Bonas. There's a lot of redevelopment going on. We're talking about increased densification in areas, obviously, that have aging infrastructure. And given that this is where the break occurred, about 3 blocks away from my home, what impact will the blanket rezoning have, and has there been any thought given to the effect on existing infrastructure?
So we're talking about 2 specific things here. Today, we are here to update you on the progress on the feeder main repairs, and you've had several updates on how that work is going. When it comes to rezoning in our city, the decision that we made as a council was to ensure that we have options for housing and increased affordability and access to housing in all neighborhoods throughout our city. And with that type of work, whenever it comes to redevelopment, we are actively looking at infrastructure investments as well.
Okay. And
Do you have something about,
pardon?
do you have a question about today?
Yeah. Okay. So you talked about continuous monitoring system of pipe while the water is in the pipe. I did some Googling yesterday, and I noticed that there was a big break in Denver in 1997 that prompted them to have to basically rip out their entire system. Is this monitoring, how does it work with checking out the condition of the existing pipes, similar to what Carrie was asking?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So the monitoring that we have recently done with the robot in the pipe is inspecting the integrity of the steel within the pipe and identifying hotspots that needed this emergency repair. What we'll be doing once we've got the pipe repaired and water service restored, as we do that review and understand this incident, we'll be looking at our entire asset management plan and looking at what other inspections we should be doing. Prior to this break, we were planning to inspect this pipe from the Bears Paw water treatment plant to the Memorial pump station. That would have happened this fall and this winter.
Thanks. Scott, Plus Media?
Yeah, my question's about that thrust block creating a problem for the crews. Removing it, can you elaborate about what you mean by structurally reinforcing instead of cutting out? And can you say which hotspot it was at?
Yeah, so thanks for the question. So instead of, originally we had planned to take 5 sections of pipe and physically cut them out, remove the existing concrete pipe and replace it with a steel pipe and weld it in place. Instead of doing that on one section now, we'll go through and we'll put a structural rebar cage around the existing pipe and pour concrete around that. And that will give us strength to hold that pipe in place. And so it's an in-place repair that we're going to be doing on that. We'd already been planning this as a contingency, and so we enabled that plan yesterday, and the crews are working on it today. The location is actually the The second from the north of the new 5 hotspots. And so if you were out on site, you would see it, the second from the north. And on this site, if you go out there, you'll see we're not cutting the pipe out. Instead, we're preparing to form that concrete box around this pipe, and you'll start to see rebar showing up where we'll build that structural reinforcement around it.
Follow?
Yeah, we've been hearing that 620 million liters a day is the average water use at this time of year. I'm curious if that goes up considerably come the summertime when temperatures are warmer and drier than they are in June.
So we know that temperature is one of the key factors in water use in the city of Calgary. Typically for outdoor water use. Now with the restrictions that we have for outdoor water use, that does level the playing field a little bit and allows us to be able to maintain the level at which we have right now. The restrictions that with the level 4 restrictions that we have in place means no outdoor watering, which then allows that. The citizens that are doing the great work that they're doing right now is exactly what we need to continue to do so that we can keep that 450 milliliters or 1 million liters. That's where we want to stay.
Thanks very much. Adam Global.
On the inspection, just following up on Carrie's questions here, when it comes to the inspection that was planned for later this year on this entire Freedom Main pipe, maybe what are the contributing factors to lead to that inspection? Was there concern at all about this pipe? I mean, was it the condition? What was the contributing factors to that inspection?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So we do our inspection based on a risk-based program that we run, where we're looking at things like the material, the age, the length of the pipe, the number of historic breaks, soil corrosivity around the pipe, and the condition comments from field inspections. I looked into it after the question. This pipe was rated good, as we were looking at the 98% of the pipe that we have across the network. We have over 5,000 kilometers of pipe across the network. The specific pipe of this specification, we have less than 10 kilometers in the network. So we have of this that specification of this type of pipe, less than 10 kilometers out of that 5,000 kilometers.
Before this break, there was no reason to believe there was any concerns with this, just based on the fact that the condition was rated as good.
Prior to this incident, we had no reason to believe that there were issues. We had installed acoustical monitors this spring so that we could start to listen for any wire breaks that may happen, because we do know pipes of this type have wire breakage. And so that's why we install those acoustical monitors. And we were going to go through and do a complete inspection this fall and winter.
Calgarians are using less treated water due to infrastructure issues, not lack of water, but inability to access it. Is this volume of unused water being held upstream at any point to save it for, let's say, a drought or for farming purposes?
So from an upstream perspective, the city of Calgary obviously pulls from the rivers, both the Bull and the Elbow rivers, to be able to support water for the city of Calgary. We are pulling a bulk of the water right now through the Elbow River and through the Glenmore Reservoir. As for upstream, that is not the city of Calgary's purview, and so what they are doing from a perspective upstream is not something I can comment on.
Follow-up, for the mayor. You told us in recent updates that the city got approval from the province to pull water from Bow River to construct, quote-unquote, as many houses as possible. Does Calgary have the infrastructure to sustain your personal growth development plans for the city, and what level of growth can we actually sustain, given we don't know the condition of our infrastructure?
So speaking directly to the question of having permission from the provincial government to use non-potable water to draw water from the river for construction purposes, this was something that we needed to do to keep the construction schedule on track. We know there are a lot of folks out there who are building homes, and we are in a situation in Calgary where we are seeing about 96,000 people having moved to our region last year. And to keep pace with those folks needing places to live, construction needs to keep pace. And the growth strategy that the city of Calgary has implemented, that has been endorsed by City Council, recognizes that we have to have not only housing, but also the important infrastructure that goes with it. And we continue to make investments in that regard.
Thank you, Mayor. Any final questions? Carrie.
Again, for Mr. Thompson, if that pipe was rated good, how should Calgarians feel about the 98% of pipes that you're telling us are good to very good?
Yeah, so thanks for the question. Like I said, we have over 5,000 kilometers of pipe across the city. Of that, over 460 kilometers is feeder main, which is greater than 500 millimeters. Of that, 187 kilometers, which is the pre-stressed concrete cylindrical pipe. And of that, we have 9.2 kilometers of the specific type of that pipe. As we look at our entire asset management plan, like I said, we take a risk-based approach. And obviously, when we do our review, we'll be reviewing this incident and applying it to how we do our asset management across the entire network.
On the acoustic, can you clarify a little bit? Had you started that monitoring program, or had you just installed it? And then I'm wondering if you have installed a similar monitoring program, the acoustic style, on other pipes, and why you chose those pipes.
Thank you. We do have acoustic monitoring in a number of locations across the city. We had recently installed the acoustical monitor on this specific pipe this spring, and it hadn't picked up any sounds of the pipe snapping until we actually had the pipe incident where we had the major rupture a couple of weeks ago.
So you said it had not picked up anything?
That's correct.
Okay, folks, that's all we have time for today. Thank you very much for the job you do. We will see you tomorrow at 2 o'clock.